Okay, I'm going to call everyone to order. My name is John Lewis. I'm the vice chair. Supervisor Ross, Chairman Ross, is unable to attend. And we'll begin with a pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll do a roll call here. Supervisor Coyle.
Present.
Supervisor Grenier.
Here.
Supervisor Reese.
Here.
Okay. With that, I'll move on to the community announcements, which I guess I will do as well. And I'll start with an exciting opportunity. Lower Makefield Township's Environmental Advisory Council is sponsoring a free lecture entitled The Hidden Cost of Fast Fashion. This event will occur on Saturday, May 2nd from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the Township's building's main meeting room, exactly where we're at right now. Eleanor Turner, veteran of the fashion industry and member of the EAC, will discuss how fast fashion's culture of disposability has reshaped the industry, our health, our closets, and the entire planet. And if anybody has been following what's happening with trends in terms of inserting polyester and plastics into our fashion and the impact it has, not just in the wearer, but also in landfills and water supplies. It's an important one for us to remember. As a reminder, if you do have an announcement you'd like, you can submit it or make a special announcement by emailing the township at admin@lmt to request the special announcement. The second announcement I have is the Yardley Farmers Market will be at the community center. That's 1550 Oxford Valley Road, the first and third Saturdays of every month until the end of April 2026. So this is your last chance this month to go to the community center and avail yourself of the Yardley Farmers Market. Thereafter, you're going to have to go outside and brave the elements. So you're going to want to make sure you get that in. So if you're the kind of person who's like, hey, I don't like the heat or the cold, you want to get that in because it'll be air conditioned and a lovely environment. The EAC is also hosting their styrofoam and recycling event on Saturday, May 23rd from 10 a.m. to noon in the parking lot of the Township building. Along with Clean White Styrofoam, they'll be collecting wine corks, amber white pill containers, and batteries. For more information, you can view the Township's calendar at lmt.org. A lot of folks might not know that, for example, if they have Verizon Fios, they'll have big batteries, and you probably have 2 or 3 of those sitting around the house that you took and replaced. Those can be recycled. Also, styrofoam. You've got that around. If you've got a new TV, you probably still have the big styrofoam holders to keep that in place. Or if you're an avid wine drinker and you know who you are, you may have a lot of corks you've been storing. You're going to want to get rid of those. Man, it's a big hit for the Environmental Advisory Council this month. They're also doing a free Birdtown PA event, Mother Birds and Their Babies, on Saturday, May 9th from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. in the main room of the Township building. Juanita Hummel, master naturalist at Bowman's Hill Wildflower Preserve and past president of the Washington Cross and Audubon Society, will be giving the presentation. You can view that on the Township calendar as well. Just a note on that, if you haven't been to Bowman's Hill Wildflower Preserve, I urge everybody. I know it's in Upper Makefield, so we can't take credit for it, but it is a Bucks County treasure. I urge all of you to go out and visit on it. That brings us to agenda item 5, which is public comment on non-agenda items. So if you have a concern about an agenda item, wait till we're discussing that specific agenda item. We welcome you to come up at that time. It gives us a way to manage the meeting better. Now, if you have something on the non-agenda items, what we do is we recognize you for an initial 3 minutes for you to speak uninterrupted. If we so choose, we can allow you to talk further as well. Depends on the circumstances. But again, we want folks to kind of get the point across quickly, move on. If you've got similar comments as somebody else and you want to make the point that, hey, I agree with so-and-so, the best way to do that is come up and say, hey, I agree with so-and-so, and sit back down. You get extra credit. I know supervisors don't often give extra credit, but I do. So especially if you've got, like, I don't know if anybody's been here, we've had hundreds of people here, places packed, and they're outside. The ones, my favorites, yeah, I agree with that person. And you can say, I don't care if you call me a chucklehead, but as long as you're quick about it, extra points. So with that, is anybody lined up? If you could just announce your name and whether you live in Lower Makefield Township or not.
Cliff Davis, and I do live in Lower Makefield Township, Regency at Yardley. I'm president of the HOA, and you should all have good feelings for me because of that, because of, you know what it's like to be an elected official. Anyway, I'm only here for one thing, and that's to express some appreciation. Back a few months ago, when we had a few of us talk about stormwater management, you sent us back to work things out with David and HRG, and we had quite a few meetings on that. And what I think we both ended up feeling was very successful. Everybody gave a little, or a lot, and I just appreciate the fact that you did that. And I think we'll have 700 plus residents appreciative that we had the opportunity to work with the team. So that's all I wanted to say today, and it's a non-agenda item, so thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi there. Ellen Saraceni, Township resident. This is not an agenda item. I am the widow of Captain Victor Saraceni, whose plane was commandeered and flew into the South Tower. That moment changed my life forever. It changed all of our lives forever. In an instant when Victor's plane hit the South Tower, the nation knew we were under attack. What has always stayed with me and how deeply this tragedy touched our own community. Here in Lower Makefield, per capita in the state of Pennsylvania, we lost the most amount of people here. We approved together with the previous Board of Supervisors, with families and community, and we created a place of remembrance to honor them all. There is only one day that the world pauses to remember September 11th. Preserving that day in full allows the community to gather, reflect, and stand together in remembrance. For many families and community members, attending the mourning ceremony is just simply too difficult. The toll of the bell is a harsh reminder of the images of planes and the loved ones' lives lost. The Remembrance in Light evening ceremony began as a way to accommodate family members, those who worked during the day, and students who were in school and could not attend the morning ceremony. We incorporated the youth by being part of every evening ceremony, giving them a meaningful role in honoring those that we lost. On Monday, April 6, I submitted a non-township event permit application for the Remembrance in Light ceremony on the evening of September 11th, where we will bring in the light on our darkest day. And I'd like to ask, has everyone gotten and is in receipt and read the permit that we put in for the Remembrance in Light night ceremony?
So the township did receive your email and did listen to your concerns at the last meeting. And we've consulted some folks, and we're working through what we think is a reasonable request to address your concerns. And, we've talked about having a September 11th afternoon ceremony that would commence and complete before sundown to allow members of the community to have the ability to have that event, as well as private reflection thereafter for those who want it. And so we think that addresses the concern and provides sort of a balanced approach to meet the concerns of some in the community who wanted it specifically in the night of or afternoon of September 11th. And so as such, the township will continue planning for that event.
Okay, the permit is for a non-township, so it doesn't have to do
Yep.
with the township.
I understand that, and but so that it's clear, the township has done, even in the past, I believe 5 years ago, managed the events. It's a township asset. It is an important date for the community, and the township's going to continue to manage the events on that date. Remember, as you so eloquently mentioned at the beginning, this is the 25th anniversary. It's likely that both of our U.S. senators and potentially our governor, or all three, may participate in either one of the ceremonies. So we have to make sure that, A, it meets with, we have a balance of how to make sure that we can accommodate everybody in a way that works. And so, as a consequence, the township will continue to run the events on September 11th. And we've addressed, I think, your concern the best way that we can.
Okay, but what your solution is to have a morning and an afternoon ceremony. That's two ceremonies that one doesn't need to happen in the afternoon if we've already just had one happening right before that.
So-
The issue for us is that this has been an event that has happened through the time that the Garden of Reflection, since inception, that we have had a night ceremony. When we didn't have a lot of even the community members, still the family members got together on the night of September 11th and were there with Doug Hoagland while he said a prayer with us. So we have had these ceremonies all throughout the history of the Garden of Reflection. But you're not addressing, I'm just asking, as a resident of Lower Makefield Township, to have what we have had previously issued to us multiple times, for us to be able to obtain a residence non-township permit for us to be able to have our own event at the Garden of Reflection on the night of September 11th. Then
Unfortunately,
it gets away from the fact that the township has a dilemma because of Rosh Hashanah, and it takes it off of your concern and puts it into, there's a township resident, along with a lot of other township residents, who would like to have a Remembrance in Light evening ceremony so that they don't have to relive what is happening in the morning, and then we can go ahead with our ceremony that we have had multiple years.
Yeah,
So I'm
unfortunately,
asking you to address that.
we've taken into consideration, we think we have a fair and reasonable compromise to your concerns. The challenge that you have to understand is that we represent 34,000 people. Some of those people, that is a holy day of obligation. And also, too, it's important to note that we have staff that have to work that day and who may be observant as well. So, by managing the township, we're having an evening ceremony. It just ends before sundown. Thereafter, people would be free to use the park.
People are available to use the park for 364 days, and there's only one day a year, September 11th, that it is observed by the people who have the availability to go to the garden. You're not addressing our concerns, and you're not addressing the fact that we are asking, as a private resident, to be able to have a night ceremony like we have done multiple
It's a township asset,
Right.
and the township is managing the remembrance ceremony.
I'm asking you not to manage, you're not managing anything at night because you said you're not going to have a township event at night. I'm not asking you, you can manage anything that you need to all during the day. I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
What
the
I'm
issue,
asking-
I'm sorry, Ellen, the issue is if the township is programming the facility in the late afternoon, the facility would not be available for private use.
At what point would you have a morning ceremony and an afternoon ceremony? That is just specifically, you're having that just for what reason? Please tell me.
for the reason you stated in the beginning, which is that some folks feel uncomfortable with the morning ceremony with the bell, and that some folks are working during the day and can't be there in the morning ceremony.
Still working at 3:30 in the afternoon. They're still working till 5 o'clock, so your ceremony is
Well,
not
they could
going
be,
to accommodate that.
but if it's 6, I think sundown is 7:15 on that date? Okay. 7:27. Okay. So essentially you have an evening ceremony. The formal part of that evening ceremony ends at 7:27, so that those that have to be at other places at that time can be there. And then the general public has free access to the park.
Well, then will you allow us to have the Remembrance and Light ceremony that we will start at 6 or 6:30, but will end by 7:27? Is that what
We all agreed
said?
that the township would manage the ceremonies. That was the promise of a 25th anniversary committee.
Right, and if it wasn't Rosh Hashanah this year, would the township be having a problem with also having the night ceremony at the time that we request? Because we allow the public to get home after work, have a dinner, take their kids to whatever they have to do, and then show up. It's the same reason why the Board of Supervisor meeting starts at 7:30, because it's a time that is convenient for people to get home and do what they have to do, and then
Yeah,
get to
the Board of Supervisors meetings haven't always been at 7:30, but 20 years ago,
All right,
I
so
think
we
they
don't
were
have to pick the
4:30. And then
What I'm
also, the Board of
asking- what
Supervisors
I'm
does not
asking-
meet on religious holidays. So the Board of Supervisors doesn't meet on Good Friday, Christmas Eve, Christmas, doesn't meet on Easter, doesn't meet on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Passover, sure.
But in 2018, when Rosh Hashanah was on September 11th, we had a morning and a night ceremony on
Right,
it.
I understand, but that was the second day of Rosh Hashanah, it wasn't the first day?
Oh, my gosh, Rosh Hashanah is not one day, you know
Pardon?
that.
Hold on.
Excuse me, I can answer that. I'm sorry. Yes.
I will use the gavel. And I also say, no interruptions. There's one speaker at a time. Let the woman at the dais speak. Go ahead.
Well, I finished my statement. I said in 2018, when Rosh Hashanah was on, it overlapped September 11th. There was a morning ceremony and a night ceremony. And during the time that the night ceremony started, it was still Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah, but that was the second day of Rosh Hashanah, and I apologize, because I am not, when it comes to the details of each holiday, like, for example, I know there's another religious holiday like Sukkot. That's like, I don't know, that's not a big holiday, so people do whatever that day. I am not, if you ask me the details about Ramadan, I know that, you can't eat during the day. I know there are certain days that are holier than others for certain people. We have to make sure that we represent all the people and have a civic event that's constructive for everybody.
Absolutely, and I
And
think
so
that this accomplishes that by having the morning ceremony where any person who is of the Jewish faith can attend a 9/11 ceremony,
But-
because that's before Rosh Hashanah.
But we
Now
also-
we're asking
but
for
you're-
a private citizen within the township to get a permit, like we have done multiple times,
Yeah.
to have the night event, which doesn't interfere with anything. We're not inviting the 2 senators and the governor and whoever else you're having, so have them come to the morning ceremony, that's fine. We're not complaining about anything like that, but they haven't been invited to ours. We had to halt everything that we were doing. But if we're just doing this, we're having an afternoon one to accommodate other people, political people, to come when we are then not aligning with our community members and our family members who are here, who
So-
want this night ceremony. And I explained
You
to
asked
you
for
what the
a
issues were with
ceremony
that.
to be on September 11th.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
It is September 11th.
There is a
We're
September
celebrating.
11th ceremony that is now going to be in the evening of September 11th. It just happens to end at sundown. The formal part ends at sundown. Thereafter, people are free to use the park. So-
Okay, can I still apply for a permit as a township resident to have something after all of your events? It's a township resident applying for a non-township event permit.
But the rules when it comes to permits typically are that you can only have access to the community's property when the park is actually open. The park traditionally closes at sundown, right? So,
Except for on September 11th, when historically, since 2002, which was when we first had our first ceremony, since then, it's never been closed the whole day long on September 11th.
we always close the park eventually
Well-
on September 11th.
Wow.
And we've
Okay,
made
until after our
accommodations.
ceremony, until 10 p.m., when everything is gone, that park is open historically since 2002.
Right.
So again, I'm asking for a resident to be able to apply for, which I did, and get approved a permit that is a non-township permit for the 9/11 family members and our community who work during the day and kids are in school to be able to come to a beautiful ceremony that has nothing to do with the chronological events of that day, but brings in the light, which is what we are all asking. I don't think that's a lot that we're asking that.
Okay, thanks for your comment. You guys stand in line.
There's a line?
Yep.
You guys all on the same topic? Yeah. All right, I'll patiently wait, because this is ridiculous.
My name's Alan Barth. I live in Lower Makefield. I just want to echo, and yes, I agree with everything Ellen Saraceni said. It seems logical. My understanding of the garden, out of darkness, there is light, which is the whole point. Maybe not the whole point, but let's point that out. Out of darkness, there is light. And I think a candlelight vigil ceremony makes a lot of sense. We don't commemorate D-Day on December 6th. We don't get off for Veterans Holiday on November 10th. And we don't celebrate the end of slavery on June 18th. September 11th is September 11th. And I fully respect and do not have any disrespect for the Jewish community in our township. However, there is a daytime ceremony. Life is about choices. Sometimes they're difficult. Faith is important and faith is strong. And the one way to show the strength of your faith is to make difficult choices and choose your faith. Sometimes you can't make the evening ceremony. Now, I'm going to say something that is going to be very uncomfortable for a lot of people, and I apologize. But I believe the board tipped their hand at the last meeting when they said even the governor couldn't attend. My understanding is Josh Shapiro has never been to the Bucks County Garden of Reflection.
Pardon.
I may be mistaken.
Hold on. Yes, Supervisor Grenier introduced him. I shook his hand, but more importantly that day, that he did appear.
On
You know who-
September 11th.
On September 11th.
Okay,
Do you
I
know- Hold on.
apologize. Okay.
More importantly that day is a gentleman walked up to me and said, I might not know who he is, right? And he shook my hand. That was Bernie Perrant, okay? So yes, do I remember that the governor was there when he was Attorney General? Yes, I do.
Then I
So,
stand corrected, and
hold
I
on.
apologize.
I'm not here, you're welcome to make your point, but pulling stuff up or invective or even challenging folks that are not a part of this, if the governor appears, that's great. If he does not, that's great too. We don't have control over their schedules. But I will say this, as somebody who's a member who has strong faith, right, we want to be respectful of that. And so I wouldn't ever want to place the governor in a circumstance where he would have to choose between his faith and his service, right?
That's his choice, I believe, not yours. So my question is, and this is the uncomfortable part, it's an election year. Bucks County is very important to the governor. And the governor probably needs to appear for the 25th anniversary for September 11th. And if that is the case, it disgusts me beyond belief that you would accommodate the people that want a nighttime vigil for a political purpose.
So If I can address that quickly, and that is, I don't really have any connection to the governor, and I think he's up 20 points. He may not show, and that's fine too, but we have a duty to make an inclusive event for the community. So, and I'm sorry if you've sat down, you're done, and you had your 3 minutes.
My 3 minutes was interrupted. But the last thing I will say,
Yeah.
logic dictates. When you favor one group, you disfavor another.
So I'm not favoring or disfavoring anyone. I'm trying to find a solution that works for the most amount of people. Okay. You're welcome as well.
Yeah, thank you, and this is a new issue for me, so total third party.
Your name and whether you live in Lower Makefield or not.
Harry Abrahams, and yes, I do live in
Okay.
Makefield.
Yep.
I'm embarrassed. These people were having to beg for this event. I'm Jewish. This is so insensitive. I assume these people had devastating losses on 9/11. And you're going to stand behind this park needs to close, we have an event earlier. What are they asking for that's so unreasonable? I mean, it is ridiculous, embarrassing. God forbid it was one of yours who lost Yeah, gavel me.
No, so hold on a second. May I recognize, I'm going to recognize Supervisor Reese for 1 minute.
I will be very brief. I lost my son that morning. He was 23 years old.
Sorry.
I am a moderately observant Jew. I do know the difference in why some people celebrate one day and some people celebrate two. In Israel, it's only one day. I find we do not have meetings on Christmas. We don't even have executive meetings on Christmas. We don't have meetings anytime. We have not had an evening ceremony every year. And we've had other people handle ceremonies that ended at 7:30 when the lights went on and the ceremony was over many years. We have also had ceremonies that tried to start setting up at 10 o'clock in the morning, closed off the park all day. This is just one time, 1 year, unfortunately, calendars came together. If it was 4/11 and it was Easter Sunday, I would be respectful of my neighbors.
And let me respond to that. So, sir, I have Rosh Hashanah, and I appreciate it as, it's one of the high holidays. It's the celebration of the New Year. It's not Yom Kippur. There's a difference. And I guarantee you, or I will have my own opinion, I should say, you get every single Jew in Lower Makefield Township in this room, they'd be ashamed. You can't honor these people on 9/11 with a candlelight ceremony because somebody else is going to be disrespected by that? This is disrespectful.
Sir, thank you for your comment.
My name is Debbie Senko. I live in Lower Makefield Township. I am a 9/11 widow and an observant Jew. And I just want to say a lot of what Ellen said, I also agree with. For me and many other family members, we stopped going to the morning ceremony because it's so anxiety-ridden for me, brings back PTSD. And I have had to accept that you guys want your morning ceremony, that's how it's going to be run, and that's okay. That's the choice that was made, and I have respected that every year when I don't have anywhere to go for my night ceremony. But we were told that every 5 years that this would be allowed. I understand that it coincides with Rosh Hashanah, but I'm not asking people to choose, my neighbors, to choose between being American or being a Jew. They can do both. And my God appreciates it any way I want to celebrate it. If I want to be there with my chosen family or my real family in a synagogue, whatever I choose, that's my right as an American and as a Jew, right? So some of these arguments don't sit right with me because it seems like whatever we say, you're counteracting it with arguments to fit the narrative at the time. I don't think Rosh Hashanah, in getting a private permit, we're violating anybody. Nobody has to choose to be there. Just like I don't have to choose to be at the morning ceremony, but on the 25th anniversary, wouldn't it be lovely to bring back my night ceremony where I could feel some hope on that tragic day? Yeah, nothing to say.
Thanks for your comment.
Thank you. Oh, but one more thing. 9/11 was never convenient, so this should just be right amongst it, right? It was never a convenient time.
My name is Eric Stark. I'm a LMT resident. I'm also here as the vice chair of the board of directors for the 9/11 Memorial Garden of Reflection, Inc., the nonprofit that partners with the township in many ways. And I'd like to enumerate some of those ways, including planning ceremonies and planning evening ceremonies for the last 15 years. Now, it's not every year, but we do plan evening ceremonies, and we've had evening ceremonies during Rosh Hashanah that have been attended by many people of the Jewish faith in our township, including Judy and her family. On 2018, the second day of Rosh Hashanah,
That
was
night,
September
not
11th.
that day.
Oh, hold on.
And the ceremony started before sundown on that evening, before Rosh Hashanah ended. It started. And we have
Came at
a
Sunday.
picture. We have a picture. We have date-stamped, time-stamped pictures, Judy, of you and Gary there. Rosh Hashanah had not ended, and the ceremony
Hold on.
was there.
Up-
And I
oh,
remember that I was
Hold
taken
on.
with my hand in the air with someone yelling family coming through
So,
at sunset.
all right. I didn't realize that we're taking roll now at public events and trying to attack supervisors. I don't think that's
Who's
appropriate.
attacking who?
Ho-
Well, I'm not attacking anyone.
Pardon, we have tried a number of ways to be accommodating, and I think the evening ceremony on September 11th just ends at sundown, right? So it's after 5 and it ends at sundown. That's a reasonable request. Similar to 5 years ago, the township also ran the evening ceremony as well, right? That's the recollection for everybody? Make sure I've got that correct, right? The township ran the last evening ceremony, correct?
The township took over our ceremonies, yes, you're right.
Okay.
You took over our
Okay.
ceremonies and never did
Pardon.
never did a reverse and like.
So I'm getting, hold on. So one speaker at a time, you're not at the microphone, that light comes on, it tells me,
Question I was just answering, I'm sorry.
okay.
I won't answer.
And I directed it to the public commenter. So the township did run the ceremony 5 years ago, the last evening ceremony, correct? Right? The township's running this evening ceremony. The only difference is it ends at sundown, right?
Why does it have to end at sundown?
For this, I think we've expressed concern to make sure that we honor all the members of our community. It is Rosh Hashanah. Sorry, I mean, we don't have events after sundown on Rosh Hashanah.
We just heard from two people of the Jewish faith that would not be offended. You're assuming
Yeah.
that all people of the Jewish faith would be offended by having a ceremony that
So-
goes beyond sundown?
Here, and I hesitate to get into the larger thing. I do have the option of just saying, okay, 3 minutes, you're done, but I want to be respectful. And as part of this, again, I have to disclose my faith because people are going to ask questions about me and my perspective. For those who may or may not know, I'm a Catholic, and I grew up very Catholic in some ways. I'm probably not considered a good Catholic in terms of church attendance. I'm particularly devout during college basketball season. I don't eat meat on Fridays during Lent. But as it relates to the Jewish faith, I have friends I have a friend who's a rabbi, who's no longer in the area. So I listen and get perspective from folks of all faiths. We received an email today from Rabbi Anna Boswell Levy, right? She is congregation, she's Colomet. I apologize, Congregation Bethel. I know more people there. So she's Congregation Bethel. Colomet, sorry, I apologize. There's a lot of synagogue. I go to a lot of services. So I do know Rabbi Boswell Levy did receive requests or discussions from Ms. Saraceni, Supervisor Reese, and she wrote us an email that indicated that it was her belief that as long as an event commenced and completed before sundown, that would be respectful. That's one rabbi. It's sort of like the Jewish faith doesn't work quite like the Catholic faith does in terms of hierarchy and structure. You've got different forms of Judaism, and so folks may have different perspectives. As somebody who's not an expert on the Jewish faith, I try to listen to as many folks as possible, and I think that's a reasonable accommodation. So I think the concern that you are having is you're asking that the event go past sundown. That's the crux of the only argument you have left, right? As far as I see it.
Only argument we have left? I don't understand what you're trying to say.
Last month you said it would be inappropriate to have the evening ceremony on September 10th, right?
Right.
And so we listened, we reached out to folks, and we came up with what we thought was a reasonable compromise.
We just don't understand why a compromise is necessary in this case when you're taking the choice away from the vast majority of the population you serve.
So
The vast majority. But I just wanted to
I would
3 minutes.
I would disagree with your characterization of vast majority, and I would suggest that none of us have good polling as to how people think. The challenge at the end of the day is, do we use the information? Do we work in a way that is constructive and thoughtful? And we are trying to do that. And unfortunately, to be honest with you, there are sometimes that you can't make decisions that everybody will be happy with. And that's the hard part about this particular job. It's part of the gig.
And I understand that. I understand, too, wanting to be respectful of all elements and all, sectors of our community. But I think the action that you're taking is disrespectful to the family members that we have in our community. And it's wrong. I can't say it any other way. But I would like to also enumerate the rest of our partnership agreement with the township and the nonprofit. The Remembrance Fund Endowment reimbursed Lower Makefield Township nearly $50,000 last year for the maintenance of the Garden of Reflection. We have a letter of agreement spelling out the parameters of our public-private partnership, including the intent to continue reimbursing Lower Makefield Township for maintenance of the garden in perpetuity. And that's the purpose of the Remembrance Fund Endowment initially. But if our facility use application is denied, our board is going to have to rethink the agreement, and that could affect the residents of Lower Makefield Township. That $50,000 may have to be added to your budget to maintain what you're calling your asset that we paid for and had built, and now you're accepting it as all yours, that we had nothing to do with it, which is also not very inconsiderate and inconsistent with what we thought was a good partnership. We don't want that to happen. We don't want to damage the partnership. We want to strengthen the partnership. But the township seems to want to work in a way that might destroy it. And precedents have been set, and we don't understand why those precedents no longer apply to this situation. Thank you.
Thanks for your comment. Just for those wondering, the garden reflection was paid for with public funds, grants from the state and other governments, so it is. Sorry, nope, no second bite. So, if you could give us your name and your.
Peter McNamara, Lower Makefield resident. I've lived in Lower Makefield my entire life, nearly 25 years. I was born in 2001, and although I have no recollection of the day, the attacks, my family honors the day annually, educates me on the events, and instills me to never forget. The 9/11 evening ceremony was created for a very clear reason. Not everyone can attend in the morning. Working individuals, first responders on duty, students in schools, families who want to attend together, the evening allows them to be present and to remember. It ensures that our youth can participate, not just observe, but engage. Because the future of remembrance depends on them understanding what this day means, I've served as a steward of the legacy multiple times in the evening ceremony, which I considered an honor and a significance in the remembrance of the tragic historical day. If we limit access, we limit participation, and if we limit participation, we weaken the purpose of the remembrance. The evening ceremony on September 11th opens the doors wider and ensures that remembrance belongs to everyone. Thank you.
Thanks. Is there any public comment on the phone? Excellent.
I'm going to be the person that says I agree. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I am going to say I am a licensed therapist. It is
if-
my heart. My name
if
is
you-
Beth McNamara. I am a township resident. Y'all know who I am. When I see these ladies here and I see other family members, trauma is not planned. You know that. We all know that. It's not convenient, as Debbie said. To take this away from them and these families, and thank you. It is not the first time I've been embarrassed to be a Lower Makefield resident. It is not, and you both know why. You embarrassed my family once, and now this is an entire embarrassment to me. So forget about the lovely little speech I wrote about how important it is to remember, because you took it away.
Okay. Stay back. Stay. Okay.
My name is Frank Lyons. I've been a Lower Makefield resident along with my family for 40 years. I'm a retired United States Air Force pilot, and I'm a retired United Airlines management pilot. I flew both of the ill-fated routes of 9/11 and logged time in both of those United Airlines aircraft, which were destroyed. In just 15 years, we'll commemorate the 100th anniversary of Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 2041, a day that Franklin Roosevelt called a day that will live in infamy. It was exactly 60 years later that America experienced its second horrific day of infamy. The upcoming silver anniversary of 9/11 will be celebrated across our great nation with a capacious blend of deep-seated solemnity and a critical call for unity. A reset of the profound unity that permeated our nation in the weeks following 9/11. Unity, perhaps the only good thing which arose from the smoke of those terrible crash sites. Today, some fine citizen volunteers, many of them families of the fallen, prepare a true and proper candlelight commemoration of this hallowed day. Yet, we quibble. We quibble. We shun the ideals of a nation united, which must be rekindled if we are to properly commemorate this 25th anniversary. Like Pearl Harbor, like the 4th of July, like Christmas, 9/11 must never be allowed to become a movable feast. I stand before this august board as a citizen, as a resident, and in some abstract ways, a victim of 9/11. I stand before you to petition you to grant the well-deserved permit for the use of public land, which was submitted by a diligent group of volunteers, many of whom were instrumental in creating our beautiful Garden of Reflection. Thank you, and may God bless the fallen, and may God bless the dedicated volunteers who keep their memory alive. Thank you.
Thanks.
Jennifer Delagrati, with my husband, he's here. We are residents of Lower Makefield. And I am going to read this letter from...
Pardon, I need you to move a little closer to the microphone.
Or move the mic closer.
Yeah, either one.
Okay,
Yeah.
is that better?
I'm not seeing the light. Yeah, there we go.
Sorry.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a letter from another resident of Lower Makefield, Jennifer Casey. She has been a township resident for 22 years. So I'm reading for her. I am unable to attend this evening's proceedings, but nonetheless, it is very important to me that I am allowed to share my thoughts. So thank you for allowing someone else to present this on my behalf. My comments this evening are specifically around the 25th anniversary remembrance event at the Garden of Reflection. This event, every year, holds a very important place in my family's heart. This is the opportunity that I have, just like so many of us in this community, to pay respect to a loved one who was lost on that day in September. Tommy was not scheduled to work that day, but when he heard the call, he suited up, joined his fellow firefighters, and ran towards the face of danger. Unfortunately, he perished in the tower when it came down, trying desperately to save others. As you can imagine, every year my family cherishes the opportunity to celebrate his sacrifice here in our very own community in Pennsylvania, especially during the evening events, hand in hand with our other community members on September 11th. The milestone years carry even more impact, such as this year. I was shocked to learn that the township had only approved the event if held on a completely different day due to the potential conflict with a religious holiday. This is highly inconsistent with all other national remembrance ceremonies. There are no other communities that align their ceremonies around religious holidays. This is a civic observance, and those are always tied to the actual date to maintain historical integrity. What I love about our community is the diversity we share, and I have no doubt that everyone in a position of leadership in our community does as well. Quite honestly, it concerns me significantly that a local government would make any event decision based on a single cultural conflict. It's clear that the number of requests and the significant diversity represented in this community would make it simply impossible to accommodate for all cultures when dispositioning requests. The reality is that if a local government makes decisions that bias towards or against any particular group, it can unintentionally signal preferential treatment. Residents should be able to choose whether or not to attend. The township should not pre-decide for them. It should be your role to offer a remembrance on the appropriate day and not to assume attendance patterns or make choices on behalf of your residents. Thank you for considering my concerns. I ask the board to consider this precedent this decision sets and to reaffirm a neutral, consistent approach by holding the ceremony on September 11th as communities across the country do. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. I'm not seeing anyone else join the line. We're going to move on to agenda item 6.
Well, one thing I wasn't able to finish because we kept on talking.
Sorry.
I just want
We
to know
closed
about our
public
permit.
comment.
I just want to know about our permit.
We closed
put in a
public
permit
comment.
Application for a permit.
We closed public comment.
You never answered
It is-
my question when I was up.
I did. We closed public comment. We're going to move on to agenda item 6, presentation from Zelenkowski, Zelenkowski and
Axelrod.
Okay. Awesome.
How's it going, Tim? Yeah.
Well, can you? Okay, a little closer. You want to get that?
I'm sorry, your microphone is not on. If-
try the one next to you.
Yeah. No, try the other one.
Try the other one, I'm sorry.
Turn the button on?
That's better.
There we go.
I'm here to present the township's 2024 audit report that we issued back in February. Next slide, please. Thank you. In that audit report, we express an unmodified opinion on the township's financial statements. What this means is that the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. As part of our audit, we do assess the township's internal control process and structure. We did not find any.
The red light's on for some reason. Is there, can you hear him? Oh, it's off now. Okay, good. Sorry.
Good.
Sorry, please continue.
It's all right. We did not identify any deficiencies in management's internal control structures, so there was no management letter comment or management letter issued. To jump into the financial results of the audit, which can be found on page 13 of the township's report, for the governmental activities, which is the entity-wide financial statements, full accrual basis of accounting. The governmental activities ended the year with a total net position of $101 million. This $101 million is comprised of net investment in capital assets of $81.5 million, restricted net position of $7.2, and unrestricted of $12.1 million. This represents a $0.9 million increase from the prior year, and that $7.2 million is restricted for special revenue purposes, and that's detailed on page 15 of the township's report. Next slide, please. The business type activities, which is the combination of the township's business type funds, the sewer, community pool, and golf course fund, ended the year with a total net position of $17.5 million. This is comprised of net investment in capital assets of $14 million, as well as unrestricted funds of $3.5 million, and this is a $43,000 increase from the prior year, so stayed relatively consistent. Thank you. General fund, which is the main operating fund of the township, ended the year with a total fund balance of $3.6 million. This is a slight decrease from the prior year of $23,000. The 3.6 is comprised of non-spendable of $60,000, which is essentially like prepaid assets, and then your unassigned of $3.5 million that could be spent on however the township sees fit. Total revenues were $14.8 million, which was $434,000 over budget. Total expenditures were $16.7 million, which is $1.8 million over. The excess of expenditures over revenue were 1.9, but then there were transfers in from the golf course funds and other funds that cut that 1.9 down to the $23,000 change that we talked about earlier. Onto the business type funds. Sewer fund had a total net position of $3.4 million at the end of 2024. Unassigned, the total amount was unassigned. The change in net position, there was an increase of $25,000, which is essentially just your interest revenue for the year. All revenue, no expenses, so that was the roll. Community pool fund, next slide, please, had a total net position of $455,000 at the end of the year, which is comprised of net investment in capital assets of $624,000 and an unassigned deficit of $170,000. The fund actually saw an increase of $93,000, so it cut down that deficit during the year with total revenues and transfers of $1.3 million and expenses of $1.2 million. And the last fund is the golf course fund. Ended the year with a total net position of $13.7 million, which is comprised of net investment in capital assets of $13.3 and an unassigned fund balance of $362,000. So a decrease of $75,000 year over year with total revenues of $4.5 and total expenses and transfers of roughly $4.5, so just rounding there. That's high-level financial results. It was great working with Mega, Dave, and the team. And we're actually in process of getting management draft financial statements for the 2025 audit here in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully get that issued sometime in May. So I'd also open it for any questions if there are any.
I got my. I always have some standard questions, but before I do that, does any other supervisor have questions at this time?
Supervisor Grenier unmuted pretty quickly.
I have a really simple question.
Sure.
Can you email that to us?
Yeah.
The actual presentation?
Mega should have it, yeah, but
Yeah.
I can
Okay.
send it to whomever.
That may be something, do we want to put that on the website so people can see it?
Yeah, we can do that. The financial statement, I believe, is already posted on the website, but we can also have this summary document as well, so.
75 pages
Yes.
versus.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Correct.
There's also the MD&A in the report too, which is kind of condensed. It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Supervisor Reese, did you have any questions?
No, I watched and followed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
First, thank you, and also a big thank you to our CFO, Mega, whose work we all deeply appreciate in terms of sorting this out and the 2023 process. So I know that all the supervisors appreciate the staff's work on this and your accommodation to that. That being said, I have some standard questions that I ask every year. The first one is, did you sample interfund transfers in the audit?
We saw that they balanced, so we don't technically run a sample on that, but we make sure that for every fund, they do balance out. So left pocket, right pocket,
So did you review all the interfund transfers?
We did, yes.
Okay. Now, did you notice any contingent liabilities that the board has not previously discussed or disclosed?
We did not find any unrecorded liabilities as of the
Okay.
end of the year.
In past years, we've asked auditors about our debt-to-equity ratio. Did you notice whether it is favorable, unfavorable, compared to peer institutions that you audit, or municipalities
I don't know
specifically?
if I've run that. I can run that. I mean, I did take a look at your general fund balance compared to the actual expenditures. So like GFOA recommends roughly 2 to 3 months worth of fund balance. I think you guys are running at 2.4%, 2.4 months. So your fund balance, and it's continuing to grow. So, yeah.
So, is there anything that you saw that would pose any intermediate or longer-term risk to the safety of the residents in Lower Makefield financially as a result of your audit process?
Nothing comes to mind. I mean, low debt. I mean, everything's, you guys just created the new fund with the new millage for the road improvements to allocate activity for that to better the residents. So I think things are.
Okay. Those are I ask variations of standard questions every year, and it's sort of like an extra check.
Okay.
And I know Megan appreciates the extra
No,
questions.
it's full transparency, so ask away. I don't really mind.
We thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you with the 2025 audit, which should be
Couple months, yeah.
a couple months.
Well,
okay.
I mean, next month I'm hoping to have it issued, and whenever you guys want me back, I'll. do
Okay.
the Same process. So,
Thank you very much.
all right.
Thank you.
Good, Tim. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
So we're going to move on to agenda item 7. These are the consent agenda items. And so these items are typically taken en masse with one vote. But if any member of the board wishes to remove an item from consideration from the consent agenda item, they are free to offer that. Is there a motion?
Yeah, can we pull item K?
Item K.
I'd like to discuss that one in a little more detail.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, so pulling that item would move that for individual discussion, or?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other, no comments? Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda items minus 7K.
So moved?
I'll second.
With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the consent agenda items minus agenda item 7K?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it, 4-0. Do we want to take agenda item 7K at this time, or we can take it immediately?
Yeah, I would
That's
prefer if we
okay.
could. Yep.
So agenda item 7K has been removed from the consent agenda. It will be discussed separately, and that is the authorization of the installation of a formalized walking path at Slate Hill Cemetery with funding to be provided using restricted funds in the Lower Makefield Township Community Foundation. So if there's anything to place before discussion, or?
Sure. I just want, so the reason I asked for this to be removed is because there's a lot of moving parts to this one. I just want to make sure that everything, all the i's are dotted, t's are crossed as we enter into contracts.
Sure.
The original contract we got was addressed to a member of our Historic Commission, and it did not include protections for the gravestones or the graves. So I want to make sure that, one, the contracting party is actually the township, not one of our volunteers. We don't want to put that on that person.
Sure.
I don't think that's
Yep.
fair to them. And two, to make sure that the language that you shared with us, David, separately after the fact, related to protecting, basically if the contractor who's installing, this is a crushed stone path through the cemetery. It's a historic cemetery, so we want to be thoughtful about this, but it's a crushed stone path that goes over mostly marked, but some unmarked graves. We want to be sensitive to the potential impacts to those unmarked graves.
Sure.
So I just want to make sure that whoever's doing the work, if they do damage anything or they do anything incorrectly, that they are responsible for mitigating that issue.
Sure. Yes, and in anticipation of this discussion, there was some amendment to the proposal, some language that speaks about the contractor's obligation to take all necessary precautions to protect existing visible cemetery features, headstones, monuments, grave markers, and the like during the performance of the work. As was done, this is a continuation of a project that was started in 2025. The original phase of the project was done as part of an Eagle Scout project. In that initial phase, and as is noted in the proposal now, in this subsequent phase, we will meet with the contractor. We'll walk through, we'll demarcate the approved work area. Informing that demarcation of the work area is some work that was done previously utilizing ground penetrating radar. So we do have some understanding of subsurface condition as well, so that we can appropriately mark the area and the path of the path to be respectful of those circumstances. Again, there's limitations that note that the contractor won't stray outside of the approved work area. Additionally, no equipment, heavy equipment or mechanized equipment is proposed to be used, so all the work would be performed by hand. And in terms of documenting conditions, the contractor will do both pre-construction video to document the conditions prior to the work, and then we'll submit a post-construction video as well in order to, for our review, in order to ensure that again, the facilities that are being worked around are being carefully dealt with and handled. I don't know if you have anything else, just in terms of the nature of the work, the extent of, I mean, it's
I think you pretty much
largely
hit
a surface treatment, is that?
Yeah, from my understanding and seeing what was done in the first phase, to your point, the Eagle Scout, this contractor basically aided the Eagle Scout in his first project, so he's familiar with the area, he's familiar with what was done in phase one.
Yeah, and essentially what they're doing is, it's about a 2-foot wide path that they're digging a couple inches down, putting in some metal rows, and then filling the space in between with crushed stone.
Correct.
To allow some people to walk. And as you mentioned, it's an extension of a project that was started at the end of last year. So you essentially have a continuous path from one end of the cemetery to
Correct.
the other. So when I say cemetery, it's Slate Hill Cemetery, not far from the Yardley train station for reference. A lot of our township and municipal founders
Sure.
buried there, a lot of Quakers. So there are a lot of unmarked Quaker graves there, as well as many Civil War soldiers. We had an event there a few years ago commemorating that as well. So there's a lot of really good history there. I just want to be careful that we don't go overboard with paths and we don't turn it into a park. This is a cemetery. I think we need to be our public comment kind of focused on this a little bit too. We want to be respectful of what a cemetery is and allow for that reflection and remembrance and not make it a place to go throw a frisbee all the time and potentially knock things over. We don't want to create an attractive nuisance, so to speak. So I just want to keep an eye out on activities at the cemetery now that we have the path, given that there isn't a sidewalk right there. Neighbors can use that as a cut through too. And that kind of relates back to some of the activities that are there. Sort of a sidebar, but there is a historic reenactments that occur there every year, which is actually a fairly good event, I think. I would just strongly recommend that we no longer refer to it as a ghost tour. I think that's disrespectful to a cemetery. As someone who works a lot in the historic preservation space and the cultural resources space, if there were other groups that were referred to in that way, it would be considered very disrespectful. So I just want to. The historic reenactment is by no means a ghost tour, and by no means any of that stuff, silly stuff you see where they're chasing, people are out there with their meters looking like they're Ghostbusters or something. It's an actually really well done historic reenactment. I can say that. A name is a name. But anyway, I think overall it's a positive project. I just think as we do more of these, we're going to be careful about our process to make sure we get all these I's dotted and T's crossed up front. I did want to ask about funding. This is the note here says that it's funded by the Community Foundation.
Yes.
Versus our. Why don't you speak to that? I guess.
Sure. So the township has what's called the Lower Makefield Township Community Foundation. It was, I forget the date of establishment, but it has been in existence for some time. It is registered as such with the IRS. And so the foundation account is made up of a series of essentially sub-accounts for purposes where a donor or funds can be restricted for specific purposes. And so one of the sub-funds or sub-accounts within the community fund relates specifically to Slate Hill Cemetery and the activities of the Historic Commission. And so the source of funds is some of the revenue that's generated, or the revenue that's generated from the event that you had just referenced. So it's taking some of the revenues generated through that historic reenactment and allocating it back to essentially the source of revenue in terms of that event.
That's all I have. Thank you for the summary.
With that, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to move that we approve Agenda Item 7K to authorize the installation of a formalized walking path at Slate Hill Cemetery with funding to be provided using restricted funds in the Lower Makefield Township Community Foundation.
Second.
With that, I'll call the question. All those in. Oh, is there public comment on the matter? Thanks for reminding me of that.
That's why
Just for those who are wondering why we went into such detail on funding and those sorts of things, we get a lot of questions and right-to-know requests and all that stuff. And by the way, you're going to want to buy tickets early to the Slate Hill Cemetery event, regardless of whatever they call it, in October. It is a very unique event. I find it to be a fascinating event. I urge everybody to attend, but they sell out, and they have slots because it is so popular. And I would make mention that the folks who are historical reenactors, some of them are like Tony awarded. No, well, I believe Tony nominated. Nominated actors. But we're getting a context and a history that people need to remember about our community. So I urge everybody to sign up, and the dollars that you spent there are now going to improve the cemetery. And I think Derek was there when we did the ground penetrating radar. That was like 800 degrees that day. It was a lot of fun. So like today, with that, I will call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Let the record reflect that all four members voted in favor. We're going to move on to agenda item 8, the engineer's report. Is there any questions? I know the report is in our packets. Did anybody have?
The only thing I'll say, which is I don't know if it's in the report or not, but just because it's an ongoing activity that we may get phone calls about, I know I will, or I do. The Highland Drive project is finishing up. They milled the street today, and they're going to be doing the paving for that section that connects to the culvert. So folks should be, finally, after several months, should start to see normal use of the road, so.
Can I ask a quick question before we go
We're
on
gonna put more gavel.
engineering?
Sure.
PICO has been doing a lot of work on my street, on Princess, Viscount. It's been going on since pre-winter storms.
Okay.
And I've been asked, does anyone have any idea of when they plan on restoring?
Yeah, so PICO's doing multiple things throughout the community. It's funny, your development, in the fall, PICO did a project to replace a lot of poles that, and some underground that was failing. What's funny is then PICO is, and again, I'm not an electrical guy at all, but they're retiring one of the Yardley substations, which was an old 5 kVA. They're upgrading to a 35 kV. So a lot of the work that they did, they're actually redoing to put bigger poles in for higher voltages and stuff like that. So yes, like Dutchess, Princess, a lot of that stuff, it almost seems like they've been there or doing stuff twice because they are. They had a lot of failing equipment that they repaired in the fall. And then they decided this project, again, the left hand never talks to the right. Now they're doing some bigger stuff.
Princess was the first street in the township to have underground utilities, and unfortunately, we were connected into Yardley where it was old, rather
correct.
than behind us. So when the lights go out, everyone behind us has lights.
Correct, yeah.
But we were the first street to be underground.
I believe their anticipation is, and again, they won't start restoration until everything is on and energized, just to make sure, but I think their goal is in the fall. They'll have everything restored and be out of the way. But yeah, the multiple
you.
projects going on. No worries.
Only so I can answer my neighbors.
No worries.
Derek, if I may, before you leave, Mr. Chair, if I may?
Sure.
So just quickly on the topic of PICO, I know there was a resident who reached out on Gaines Way. They were unhappy with the restoration of their lawn after PICO left. I believe writing to PICO has acknowledged that, gone back to do some additional restoration. I don't think they're proactively doing that with other neighbors who may have been impacted. And I don't know if that's an area where you can encourage PICO to take a second look, or if all those homeowners individually need to reach out.
Yeah, I'm not, to be honest, that one's not ringing a bell, but I'm sure, I believe Gainesway, there is a lot more work to do in that development, from my understanding or recollection at least. But I would urge individual residents, they got, every resident that's impacted gets a letter from PICO stating the work, and there is always I believe they're referred to as a customer liaison. It's Gary Dolahan, and there's an email address. I urge every resident to email him directly when they have concerns, and
Thank you.
just keep emailing him. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Supervisor Grenier mentioned to me as a sidebar about somebody that we frequently call and have the cell phone number of at PICO, that if we need to escalate, but I believe he's retired, so we got to get somebody else's cell phone. With that, I believe we've covered everything in the engineer's report, other than scheduling the ribbon cutting for the Highland Drive Improvement Project, which the township manager is working on right now.
Yes, we're looking at the calendar right now, yep.
With that, we'll move on to agenda item 9A, manager's report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the board. A couple items for your consideration this evening. The first one is consider acceptance of the proposal from Open Spaces and Historic Places, LLC, in the amount of $25,000 for Phase 2 of the Lower Makefield Township Historic Resource Survey. As is noted on the agenda, this project is, the township is a certified local government through the PHMC, the State Historic Preservation Office, and so we received an additional project grant as a result of being, I believe, one of 49 communities in the Commonwealth that's recognized as a certified local government. So this is a continuation of the work that was done previously. This is focusing on structures that I believe it's from 1900 to it may be 1940.
42?
Is it 42?
I believe it's 42.
Okay. So again, the $25,000 proposal is being fully funded through the receipt of this grant. We do have, I believe, a 10% match requirement, so a $2,500 match requirement, and that in the last phase was used to make sure that we were covered from an insurance perspective. So, and that match is budgeted and again required by the program. Open Spaces and Historic Places was the individual that did the initial work. So again, this is just simply a second phase or a subsequent phase of the work that was recently completed by this contractor, again, under the Certified Local Government Project Grant Program. So happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I'd just like to also thank Senator Santorciero and State Representative Warren for their letters of support for this grant and their continued support of historic preservation in the township.
Questions on background?
Sure.
So a couple of things that are missing from the proposal that are fairly basic. What's his schedule for completion?
Colin, do you have a sense on schedule? I don't.
Other than to say, I believe they think it can go pretty quickly. We're talking about like a photo survey.
Yeah, it's just his.
Yep.
So there's no schedule. It's a firm fixed price. It's not a T&M.
That is correct. It's a firm fixed price, yep.
So I would like to see a schedule so that it gets done quickly so we can, and is he going to be giving a presentation to the board like last time, or is it going to be?
Yeah, we would expect that he would do the same as he did previously.
And it would be his presentation?
It would be his presentation, reporting on the work that he's completing, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And it would come to us for review?
It would come to you for review. That is correct. Yep.
Okay. Are there any terms and conditions associated with this contract?
Again.
Or is it part of the grant that stipulates what the terms would be?
Yeah, I mean, generally the scope is defined by the grant. You know, it's largely you know, professional services that you know, he's performing. I don't have any terms and conditions. This is again consistent with what he did as part of the initial phase of the project.
Did we get any other proposals? Given this,
okay. We did not, no.
It's a threshold, though.
I'm just.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, it's a professional service. There's no requirement to get any additional proposals. The thought, again, in terms of utilizing Mr. Marshall is given his prior selection, and again, this being a continuation of work that was previously done.
Yeah.
Do we recall about how long it took for I mean, he just completed the first phase of this in 2025.
It took better part of a year, I think, for him to do what he had.
5 months, is that what you, yeah, somewhere around there. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just know of lots of other service providers that do this. So I generally like to see other proposals if possible that look, frankly, a little more professional. You know,
Were we unhappy with the output of his initial project?
So I think the initial output, there was data that was provided that was useful. It was sort of, real technical term, herky-jerky, in terms of how it wasn't, the presentation was less than useful, I think. I think along the way, our staff actually helped it a lot. intern, I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I know Dan McClune helped a lot with mapping, and probably Jim Majewski.
Both Dan and Jim were,
Probably,
yes.
in my mind, one of the more useful deliverables we got. Is that going to occur in this case? Is that part of this grant, or are we going to have to do that ourselves again?
Again, the scope of his services are consistent with how he previously performed the work. We would support and provide that additional service internally if, as was done previously.
Yeah, he's not calling out to build a map itself, but to provide us
Well, he says he's
the
going to have
address.
mapped results.
the mapped reference, so a parcel ID or equivalent.
So his deliverables will include a survey report, mapped results, and completed inventory
perfect.
forms suitable for uploading to PA Share, which is PA Share is the Pennsylvania SHPO State Historic Preservation's Office's online database. We didn't get all that last time, so I want to make sure we actually get that and our staff doesn't have to do it.
We got him up, he uploaded the information to PA Share.
Right, but he didn't make the maps, our people did.
Correct, using the parcel IDs that he provided as part of the survey, yes. Yeah.
Right. But this is saying he's going to do that for us, so I don't want to pay him to give us a map if he's not going to give us one. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
'Cause that puts the work, that puts the level of effort on our folks. But it's saying here that the deliverable is map results, so that would be on the vendor, not our staff. So we just want to make sure that's clear.
Sure, okay.
I'm sure he can do it. I just want to make sure he does it, so that we're not left holding that one.
Yeah, I don't know what mapped reference means as opposed to a map. I don't know if mapped reference, again, is reflecting parcel ID as constituting a mapped reference.
Well, if you look at the evaluation deliverables section of the proposal, the very last sentence there, where it says deliverables will include.
Map survey results, okay.
That's what I'm focused on.
Sure, no, understood.
So if we can get all that and get all that done in a timely manner, then it's useful.
Okay.
Last time around, and I don't think it's in here either, and that's fine. We had asked them for recommendations on certain things that we might be able to do with that data. You think he would be willing to?
I'm sure he would be willing to provide that as well. Yeah.
That was actually very useful too.
So Dan, given that the deliverables seem to include what was missing last time, are you comfortable approving as is, or were you comfortable approving subject to a period of performance?
I mean, the other alternative is I don't want to suggest we could table the issue and clarify these items if.
I'd like to clarify if the proposal is verbatim from last time, the deliverables that we got from the vendor did not match what deliverables would be in the proposal, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, which I understand, but we have the power to say the contract isn't complete, and we're under no obligation to pay until the deliverables
Right.
So if the deliverables that are on here are correct, it seems like the only issue we have is the time frame to deliver.
I do believe also that as part of that initial project, there were additional resources. So while it's reflective of essentially a flat fee, there was the opportunity to do additional work beyond the scope elements that were initially contemplated as part of Phase 1. So he's not billing us as if here's $25,000, here's an invoice. I think there is some time tracking that's involved. So to the extent that there's elements that he's not delivering, then presumably we would have the ability to deduct that. But I'm just, again, reflecting on how it transpired last time.
Yeah, because does he say if it's firm fixed price or if it's a time and materials? Because it says cost of proposal.
It says cost of proposal, $25,000.
I think we need to clarify that because I would prefer that it's time and materials up to and not to exceed 25,000.
Okay. Yeah, whatever the prerogative of the board is, I'm happy. We can either table it, we can, whatever your comfort is.
Yeah, I am comfortable with Dan's suggestion that we put a time to deliver on here. I've done a lot of government contracting. If you tell me time and materials up to $25,000, you're getting a $25,000 bill at the end. I think that to some degree, the firm fixed price protects us more. He's on the hook to deliver everything that's on this document, And we're under no obligation to pay until it's all delivered, so.
Either way, he's under, so I do every day, I'm
Sure.
writing these proposals. Firm fixed price is actually better for him because he can make more money off of it if he does it quickly. But if there's a deliverable listed in here, he has to give it to us. So that's whether it's T&M or it's FFP. So my preference would be to make this time and materials not to exceed without prior authorization and put a schedule on this such that we have a deliverable dates and to make sure that it's clear that the deliverables are defined.
I will move that we table item 9A to give Mr. Kratzer time to address some of the concerns raised here tonight with the proposal writer.
I'll second that. Thank you.
Any objection? I guess with that, we'll move that as tabled. Moving on to agenda item 9B.
Okay, 9B, this is coming out of some of the discussions we had as during part of the budget process. 9B is consider acceptance of the proposal from Golf Property Analysts for the conduct of a request for proposals for management company and potential lessee proposals for Makefield Highlands Golf Club at a not-to-exceed price or cost, rather, of $20,000. Again, as noted on the agenda, it is a budgeted project. We had initially budgeted within the golf fund, I believe, $30,000 for this effort. The existing management agreement with Spirit, now Sports Facilities Company, expires at the end of 2026 with no explicit provisions for an extension or any auto renewal provisions. Those were taken out. Again, as you recall, last year we did a 1-year, I think, extension on the prior management agreement with Spirit. So we solicited proposals from 3 firms: Golf Property Analysts, Fairway Advisors, and also Leisure Appraisal. The structures of the proposals were a little different. 2 were consistent in terms of their structure, where the advisory fee was a fixed fee in the event that we were proceeding with the structure that we utilize now, which is a management company, and then had different, but not yet defined in terms of scope, percentages associated with gross lease amounts for the term of the lease to be paid if we were to enter into a lease transaction. So again, 3 what we believe to be qualified respondents. However, we are recommending at this point consideration of the proposal from Golf Property Analysts. Happy to answer any questions they may have.
Before that, is there a motion? No calling out. Are we clear? No calling out. When I'm chair, there's no calling out. Is there a motion to consider this an open discussion?
Sure. I will move that we accept the proposal from Golf Property Analysts for the conduct of a request for proposals for the management company and lessees proposals for Makefield Highlands Golf Club at a not-to-exceed cost of $20,000.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
With that, it's open for discussion with supervisors first. Supervisor Grennan, do you want to go first?
Sure. So obviously I understand the need to move forward with an RFP so we can get stuff rolling so we're not behind the 8 ball with our status. However, we did receive 3 RFPs that look at a couple different options. Dave, please help me to summarize the difference between the 3 too. But overall, I think there's an approach where there's a fixed fee to put an RFP together. Then hey, if you're going to do a lease agreement, we're going to charge you 5% of whatever that lease is, and that could be $300,000 after the $20,000. that's an example that one of them put in there. Whereas I believe I think maybe two of them said that, or something akin to that.
Two of the three had a percentage-based compensation for, in the event that there was a lease structure that was entered into, yes.
And then the third would work on the lease structure, but was a fixed fee. So they didn't get that up to 300,000 or whatever it is. So for me, whenever you're taking a percentage cut of something, you're basically getting a commission of it, then you're going to push for that regardless because you're incentivized to go for 300K versus 20K or whatever it is. The one that was a fixed fee, only fixed fee, I think was a bit 29,000 versus 20,000.
29.5, yes.
Yeah, so a bit pricier, but did not have that lease fee on top of it. They all seem like I'm not in this industry. They all proposals seem qualified, but I have a big concern about potentially giving away that much money if the lease is a real option, which it could be once we get proposals back. So I'm wondering, I just would like to dig into this more. I don't know that I have enough information to make a real decision on these options based on what they're providing us and just the delta in potential fees there.
Sure.
With that, I'll recognize Supervisor Reese next, sure.
I want to make sure that I'm a liaison to the golf committee, and I will confess I grew up among golf courses. I lived behind the Masters for a year. I'm quite aware of how they should be run, though I'm not a golfer. I produce golfer, but I'm not one. But I would like to be sure that at least one representative from the golf committee can be part of some of this, the information. I think they have more.
They looked at the, I'm sorry.
I don't.
I just want to, have they looked at these?
They're here tonight.
Oh, hold on.
They have not, no.
I don't think so. But I'd like them to at least, that we do our due diligence with a committee, let them see what, and be part of this.
Yeah. When is the next golf committee meeting?
This golf committee, following Monday.
So, yeah, I mean, we could delay, the decision, table the matter.
I'd be happy, before a supervisor makes a motion to table, if people want to make public comment about this agenda item, they are free to walk to the podium at this time. Once it's tabled, they will not be able to make any public comment until it reappears on the agenda. So,
Can you clarify one thing for them? Meaning, if it's tabled, that means it's going to go back to the golf committee to review and for recommendations. That's ultimately what tabling does.
Right.
Yep,
that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. With that, is there anybody who would like to make public comment? Please line up.
My name is Chuck Lustig, and I reside at 1255 with Rush Court. I rise today to ask the Board of Supervisors to forego any RFP process for seeking possible new management at Makefield Highlands. I'm not on the golf committee, so I won't have a say. Mm-hmm. I think the Board of Supervisors would be inadvertently sending a vote of non-confidence to Spirit and the sports facilities companies at the very time they're in the unique position to enhance what Spirit has already positively done for both the golf course and the greater community. We are fortunate to have a public golf course that is the envy of golfers all over Pennsylvania and New Jersey. And I'm proud to be an LMT resident in part because of how successful we as a community have managed and maintained the golf course. Instead of spending up to $20,000 to begin an RFP process, I think we should spend the next year showing our confidence in Spirit and explore how they and the new parent company can further enhance some of the township's other aging sports facilities. That would cost the township nothing and would be, in my opinion, a smarter decision than beginning an RFP process at this time. Thank you.
Patrick Frayne, 16 Delaware Rim Drive. For context, my property borders the golf course. I'm also a golf committee member, proudly serving for the last 25 years. I was there before the shovels went in the ground, and I continue to serve on that board today. I'd like to just go back to one item, the Audubon item that was earlier stated. For the board, I don't know if you're aware of this or the public, the golf course is an Audubon sanctioned golf course, okay? I was intimately involved in gathering the data for that project. However, if it was not for the superintendent, Mark Peterson, who is currently the superintendent of Spirit Golf, that certification would have never come to fruition. He was the one who gathered all the information, put all the paperwork together, and he continues today to make sure that the golf course has that certification. I'd like to say in Spirit's behalf, I understand the board has to do their due diligence, and we would all expect you to do your job. But on their behalf, they've led us through some really trying times. COVID, financial crisis, bad weather, and there was a lot of times where budgets were a shoestring. Now all of a sudden the course is doing really well. I believe the slide we saw from the auditor that was here, the biggest asset that we have by far is the golf course. I believe that's correct. Yeah? I mean,
How about
the
the
three
road?
items that were up there, to pull the golf course and.
The roads, we have 130
I mean,
miles of roads
so
there. And that's it.
What I rise here today is just my support for Spirit Golf. I think that they've really done a fantastic job of leading us through some tough times. Now they've grown the community, they've grown golf, they've grown women's golf exponentially. The kids play golf. They've really become part of the fabric of Lower Makefield. And I just want to rise today and say, just pass the tank. Hey, no phone.
Oh, sorry. I apologize.
Well, that'll take my cue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. William Ryan, LMT resident, and I am on the golf committee as well. I want to say a little something, and then I have some questions, if you don't mind. I've only been on the golf committee for about a year now, and looking at what has happened over the last year, I think Spirit Golf has done a tremendous job, not only with the golf course, but with your restaurant and bar and your catering business, because you are running a restaurant and a bar and you are running a catering business. They have generated over $800,000 last year in profit to the township and the residents of Lower Makefield Township. That helped pay for the pool. That helped not raise taxes. It went into the general fund and other funds, but it helped to not raise taxes. What I would say is, you're about to spend $20,000 to go to a company to evaluate or put out an RFP where you have a company who's proven they can take an asset of yours, of ours, and make it very, very profitable for the taxpayers. You also have a now larger company that they're part of, that my recommendation would be to not spend $20,000, but to sit down with them, and now their larger company, and ask them about a proposal or what their thoughts were, a lease versus managing. So that's my recommendation. I will also say, as a golf committee member, thank you, Judy, because I do believe at least somebody from the golf committee, who our chair is 20-plus years in procurement, should be part of this process. As well as we have an individual on the golf committee who has been managing golf courses for over 24 years. So, to others' points, who are not experts in this field, we have them on the golf committee who can help in this process. So my question is, why? What is the goal? What are you seeking to achieve that this golf course, restaurant and bar, and catering business is not already producing for the township?
Is that your question?
That is my question.
Okay. So township RFPs, all stuff, all times. Even if the vendor is amazing, we RFP stuff. And the reason we do that is to make sure that we are representing your interests the best way that we know how. As it relates to your comments about the golf course being profitable, that's not directly a correct statement, but that's not necessarily at the feet of Spirit, right? So that's very separate. The management of Spirit, you're free to express your opinions in favor or opposed, what have you. We run a process, and we're attempting to view that as an asset and how best to do that. Many times RFPs are run, and the incumbent is selected. As it relates to your prior question, when Spirit was acquired by, I forget the name of the company.
Sports facilities
Sports
companies, I think.
facilities. We did reach out to them because we signed a continuance on our agreement with them. So our intent is part of our sort of standard process of reviewing stuff. And you saw with one supervisor concerned about the fee structure and contingencies. So it's not a situation where we are in any way stacking against for or opposed to Spirit. We have a duty to manage township assets the best way we can, and sometimes that means RFPing the process. As you may recall, I don't know how active a golfer you are, the Spirit has not been the only manager of the golf course. Kemper was a firm. And there were a number of folks, this predates my time on the board, who were very unhappy with the management of that firm, which caused a change in that process. Those things occur regularly, and RFPs are regular, and we definitely want to have Rich involved in the process. I know him, and I'm aware of his procurement skills, not a doubt in any way, shape, or form. But, we recurringly do that. Even if we think the people are amazing.
Fair. Just so I understand, though, it's happening because it's a process. But do you have an intent of what you are seeking to get out of this RFP, or are you just looking for, let's see what we get and assess?
Well, I can't speak for all of the board members here, and so they could address concerns and stuff like that, or perceptions that they might have. The board is generally seeking a RFP to consider options. Different members of the board may have different perspectives on those options, and understanding what comes back from the RFP would be insightful. I know that one member of the golf committee was consulted when looking at firms for the RFP process because they were a specialist in this. So it's not like we're acting, and I can appreciate those who may find things that they like about the way the golf course is operating, the people involved. That all may be well and true, but we have to run a process occasionally to review vendors to the township. If we don't do that, and you may know this, the chance that a vendor will take advantage of us or we don't get the best deal occurs, and then a whole bunch of people come crashing down on us for not doing our jobs.
Okay. So it's a process that needs to take place now, is what you're saying.
Well, yeah, and we're under a little time constraint on it, right? So if the contract, right, and we initially started having discussions about this earlier. So it may not yield a change, it may yield a change, I don't know. And I'm on a 5, so hopefully I've addressed your concerns and those who have asked.
Okay. So just one last thing.
We're at 3 minutes. I've been really super cool, but go ahead.
Lease versus management, are you leaning one way, or are you looking?
Are you
at all
asking me in particular?
To the board as a
Mr.
whole?
Chair, if I may?
Well, I don't want to prejudge. I'm sure there are certain supervisors who are really thinking through the issue and have an open mind. And what time are we at? 9:19. So I urge you to
reach out
certainly
directly.
ask questions later.
Fair.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Rick Kelly. Live at 119 Dispatch Drive. I've played Makefield Highlands 2 or 3 times a week since it started 20-plus years ago. I'm pretty anal. I keep a spreadsheet of every round I've played since 1991, so I can say that I've played Makefield Highlands 742 times. And I've got the spreadsheet to prove it. I've also been a course rater for the USGA, the U.S. Golf Association, for more than a dozen years, so I mention this only to imply that I know a little bit about golf and golf courses. Highlands has improved its course conditions significantly and consistently throughout its existence. It's vastly superior to any course in Bucks County, any course in Mercer County. Mercer County courses last year were a joke. Not only is the course itself terrific, but the people running it are. It's got a local flavor that you would not get from a national management company, a Cheers-type atmosphere. You go in, they know your name. Hey, Rick, how you doing? You go to the bar. Hey, Ellen, how are you? The usual, yep. It's first-rate and very customer-forward. So in terms of the experience that Highlands offers to golfers, your constituents, it's second to none. Spirit's done an admirable job. I'd encourage the board to consider retaining Spirit as stewards of this tremendous resource that you folks have, and I hope you'll do that. Thanks.
Yeah, we have one more.
James Bell. I'm not a township resident. I live in Newtown. Been playing golf at Makefield Highlands since it opened. My question is, when was the last RFP done?
That's the part of the problem. I think it's 10 years.
It may have been 15. It may have been the point of transition. I believe Spirit has been the operator for 15 years.
Yeah.
Is what I believe.
And during
somewhere around there.
Yeah, I know.
I think there were some modifications in terms of
Yeah.
structure and responsibility and division of responsibility there, but I believe, yeah.
So my question is then, you had mentioned about, obviously, it's incumbent upon you to do these things. I don't know if periodically is the right word, but why now? If it's been 10, 15, whatever it's been, why specifically now? And I would say, too, that the gentleman who owns golf property, Alan's a friend of mine, so it's nothing against him at all, but so why now?
Well, first, I don't want to speak for the board here. This was discussed prior to the acquisition of Spirit, and that we were considering options because if you're asking me, so on the one hand, by the way, normally people come up and bust my chops that we haven't RFP people, right? And I get that all the time, right? And I'm somehow in the tool of whatever, right? Then I get a right-to-know request where people come up and want to know every Facebook message, text message, email that I've got ever, right? So if you're asking me, why now? I'm one of 5. Some members of the board said, hey, we probably need to do this, right? Some have different viewpoints than I have about this. And so this RFP process is to manage that. So if you're asking me, should it have been 5 years instead of 15? Maybe, right? But to another gentleman's point, there was a lot going on, right? And we've also worked with Spirit over the years to improve things. So while you are choosing to give Spirit credit for the changes in food and beverage, the golf committee specifically had certain people that were added to the golf committee to help improve the food and beverage, right? They came in, they did a lot of the work and the evaluation for that. So it's not like, oh, it's all Spirit. It's golf committee members who were appointed by the board that helped improve those things. So it's a natural function.
My intention wasn't
Yeah.
to put you on the defense. It was just
Yeah,
to
that's
ask that
okay.
why, why an urgency, I guess now, I know the contract is
Yeah.
up. Contract was up last year. There wasn't an urgency last year. So that's just my
Sure.
question.
Well, look, I'll give you a little more context. So, Spirit, sometime in the last 5 years or so, we updated their contract and tried to get them to improve on certain things. And then last year, when it was coming up, because I was chair last year, we were trying to get to an RFP process last year, but we had to figure out what would be in the RFP and everything that we've been talking about tonight and everything. Are you on the golf committee?
I'm not.
You're not. So everything the golf committee will be looking at their next meeting to consider. We've been building up to that for about a year now. I wish it would have gone faster, honestly, but it is what it is at this point. So now we're at the point where we have everything we think we need, or at least you're going to tell us that, because we're just getting everything. We have these RFPs to develop, we have these proposals to develop an RFP, so they're sort of giving us different options for structure of an RFP. And for those that don't know what an RFP is, I should say it's a request for proposal. So we're putting out a request for proposal for some other firm to come in, either manage or lease the property, the golf course, and run it in some way. And there's different structures for how involved or not involved the township would be in the management of that facility. Whether we're more hands-on like we are now, where we pay for everything, or we lease it and we're more hands-off and we just get profit sharing, or some combination of that or some other thing. So that's what we're looking at to make sure that the township, one, isn't paying out the nose for things that maybe someone else could do, and we get more of the profit than we are currently getting, so that the golf course, which was recently paid off by having to sell other assets, can be even more profitable for the township.
The risk of really being a stickler, you mentioned that the golf course has a profit, but Mr. Lewis said he wasn't really sure that the golf course does.
I can tell you, let me give
No,
you
I
exact-
agree with Mr. Lewis.
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
on
So let
that.
me give you the direct answer on that.
Yeah,
Okay? So a couple things. When the golf course was originally conceived, there were two mistakes that were made. So three. The first mistake was taking the land through eminent domain. The township lost a court case on that and paid $5 million on. The second was a lack of vision of what the golf course could be, and such, they did not build a significantly sizable clubhouse, which is a significant issue. The third issue that has caused issues with the golf course is that because the golf course was generating positive cash flow, it contributed to debt service, but not on a reasonable time frame. So what has happened for many years is the debt service kept getting pushed out, okay? So that when people say it's profitable, well, you have to make an assessment based on, is it contributing to debt service? It is. But is it truly profitable from a GAAP perspective? No. It incurred losses. But by extending the debt out, it made that appear okay for many years. So when people say the golf course is profitable, I would say no. What has happened is many years the general fund would transfer money into the golf course. So if you want to get into the nuances of the economics of the golf course, I gave you the three issues that I think caused the situation we're in. Since we've gone past time, I will say this. The correct diagnosis was not to sell the sewer system to pay off the golf debt, because the interest rate on those bonds were really low, and it was paid off right at the same time that the Ukraine war and interest rates spiked. It would have been better for the township to continue to hold the debt. I don't want to get into all the nuance with you, but if you want to dig in, right, I'm happy to have that discussion, but I want you to understand sort of the history. This isn't a blame game. Yep. We have to be proactive going forward. And I shouldn't be chair this much because I'm talking too much, but hopefully that answers your questions.
Though, since you brought it up, is it also fair to say other township debt was rolled into that the golf course paid for?
No. So no, not at all. No. And by the way, the township, prior to the sale of the sewer system, would have been debt-free in about 13 years, to kind of give you a perspective. And you're from Newtown Township?
Yes, sir.
Okay. we have a lot less debt than Newtown Township, and we don't have an earned income tax. And I don't want to bust chops, but, I mean, wouldn't you rather be in Lower Makefield?
Would I be able to be on the golf committee?
If there's an opening, sure.
Can I be on the golf committee outside of?
No.
No, you may not.
No, that's it, you're done. All right. With that, is there a
I'd like to
motion?
move to table.
Okay, is there a second?
I will withdraw my motion to approve, and I will
Okay.
join the motion to table.
Excellent. With that, no objections by anybody? All righty. Okay, moving on to agenda item 9C.
Yes, so the next item, consider acceptance of the Patterson Farm Agricultural Lands leased bid from Charland Farms. We are recommending, it was the only response to the bid process. It exceeded the minimum bid that was established within the bidding document, and they are expressing a willingness to provide some additional services relative to maintenance of the property and some mowing, and also help with, I'll say, addressing disposal or reuse of the recycled leaf compost on the site. So we would recommend acceptance of the bid.
Mr. Chair, to open discussion, I will move that we consider the acceptance of the Patterson Farm Agricultural Lands lease bid from Charland Farms.
And I'll second.
With that, is there any comments, questions?
What's the term of the lease?
It's a 5-year with a lessee extension option of additional 5 years.
Do they have any opinions or concerns about that? The lessee, the potential lessee?
They don't.
Do they
I
ask for
think
more, or do they ask for?
No, there was no. They were comfortable with it. I think they, it provides them with some
This isn't for.
long-term, potential long-term stability, but also provides them with an avenue to not exercise the option.
No,
if
I
they choose. Yeah, yeah.
appreciate that. I know historically, well, I shouldn't say historically, over the last 5-10 years or so, we've looked at, just want to make, part of this lease is to make sure it stays farmed. They obviously get use out of it and they use it for their business, but we also want to make sure it stays farmed, so it's.
Yeah, I would say that based on the fact that they exceeded the minimum bid that was established, that they feel comfortable that the terms of the lease are acceptable and permit them to continue to be successful in farming the property.
I want to hear.
I think that this is a family that this generation, at least the first younger generation, is not looking to see how many houses can go on their property.
Yeah, no.
They are farmers, and if we didn't learn anything in the last few years, we need to make sure we have food grown locally.
So do we have a motion?
We already did it.
We already have the motion. It has been
And a
seconded,
second?
sir.
Is there any public comment on this? All right, you sure there's no public comment? No one on the phone? All right. With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Let the record reflect that all 4 members voted in favor. Moving on to agenda item 9D, consider a request to modify condition of approval of a permit. Mr. Manager?
Sure. Again, this is a situation, we've dealt with these situations in the past where the proposed impervious surface that's proposed to permit these improvements on the lot is less than the maximum permitted impervious surface under the zoning ordinance. However, there was a plan note that was placed on approval, so it was essentially a condition of approval back when this lot was created, that essentially has a threshold less than that's permitted under the zoning ordinance. So in those circumstances, much like folks go to the zoning hearing board and request relief from that provision, and in turn are required to install structural facilities in order to manage the additional impervious surface that's being proposed, that is in fact what this applicant is doing. So much like the process that typically would take place at the zoning hearing board, this is dealing with a modification of a condition of approval as opposed to exceeding the thresholds that are established in the zoning ordinance.
Why are they not at the zoning board?
Because they're under the threshold in the zoning ordinance. So Correct. So in recognition, now that initial limit of impervious surface was informed by the facilities that were installed as part of the development of the parcel, and that's in turn why they're providing the additional on-site facilities to manage the additional impervious surface.
Is there a motion?
Are you here on behalf of this project? I don't know if there's anything else that.
Well, I'll put in your description. If you have any questions specifically, I'd be happy to answer them.
Did they require any other variances or anything else associated with the project?
No. And there are, one thing of note, the request is subject to conditions as well. So there were some items that HRG, as the township engineer, had noted. So I'm trying to find where those are at, but they were largely.
Can I ask why this property is different from the other properties that are in that area? Is there something unique on this property, or?
No, my understanding is that, and perhaps you can add some history on that, but I believe that all the lots were subject to a threshold of impervious surface less than that's permitted in the zoning ordinance.
My name is Brian Patterson, professional surveyor representing Mr. McDonald and his family here tonight. I do not know if every lot had the same impervious surface requirement. It wasn't a percentage, I believe it was a specific square footage for this lot.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So yes, we did get a review letter from the engineer, and it was addressed on March 18th and resubmitted. And Dan McClune from the permitting office noticed that since we meet zoning, this is more of a supervisor's situation here. So as he stated, that we are taking care of the new impervious surface with the structural BMP, infiltration, and we feel that it's not an exorbitant amount that we're going over that 1988 subdivision plan, and we're taking care of all the stormwater management. So that's what we're looking at. I don't know if were you supplied a copy of the plan?
Yeah, I have it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll make the motion that we approve the request, but I do have a few questions. None of them are related to Supervisor Granier's hair, however. So I move that we approve the request to modify a condition of approval to permit the construction of an in-ground swimming pool at 652 Leslie Lane.
I'll second, so we can at least have a discussion.
Do we have any idea in researching the development why the township would have demanded a restriction on this lot that was more strict than?
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know all the history. I would assume that it was a self-imposed restriction at the time of development, where the facilities that were installed as part of managing stormwater were less than addressing the maximum permitted.
So the stormwater management for the development itself would not have been sufficient. Is that your?
That's my understanding. I don't know if.
I'd be guessing.
It would be
honestly.
a guess.
Yeah, without knowing the ordinance of 1988 and looking at the stormwater management design of the.
Our ordinances don't change all that often. It was probably the same one.
1988.
Yeah, my assumption is that it was, essentially the thresholds are, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Judy.
Yeah.
Our ordinance is consistent. There was something that required that.
So to be clear, the impervious surface after the construction of the in-ground pool and the other modifications would be less than the maximum allowable by the zoning ordinance?
By the zoning ordinance, that is correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And Dan McClune has reviewed it, and it meets his?
That is correct, and there were a series of comments from HRG that I would ask that you condition your approval on. Again, largely, some of them were administrative. Some of them, I think, have already been addressed perhaps through revisions. So some of it had to do with changes in our stormwater ordinance. So there was, I guess, a recalculation that you had to do, right?
Sorry, I didn't bring the review letter with me.
Yeah, I'm just reading it. So Township Stormwater Ordinance was recently updated, revised the definition of impervious area of a pool under the, so this had to do with, I think, initially, the pool water was not being.
That's correct. So the pool water does not count for
zoning purposes,
but it does count for stormwater management.
Well, and that's one of the things we got to change in our zoning ordinance because it's ridiculous.
So they provided revised stormwater volume and BMP sizing calculations consistent with the Appendix 1 in the stormwater ordinance, the updated stormwater ordinance, based on the definitions that are contained in that ordinance versus the prior stormwater ordinance.
So let me ask you. You just made me think of another question. I'll ask this one first. The development itself was permitted for a level of imperviousness not based on the zoning ordinance. They went less than what the zoning ordinance would allow because they provided less stormwater management. it sounds like.
That is my assumption based on.
But we don't know that that's the case. We don't know why.
I don't definitively know that, no.
All we know
I'll
is that.
Correct.
Typically the case. Sure. So I would hold that as the base case for what stormwater management capabilities are there, just to protect our residents. Now, was this application provided before or after our stormwater ordinance was updated?
I believe after, because again, it appears that initially the applicant was under the impression, and it could have been a function of the codification of the ordinance. I don't know if you're.
I think so, which was October of
Yeah,
25?
so I think what happened is, again, you adopted the new ordinance. From a code of ordinance perspective, it doesn't get codified immediately. It's in the new laws section of the code.
Right,
of
it wasn't on
ordinances.
E-code.
So I
readily
think there was a circumstance where then it was, just so there's new standards and there's a new definition as to what constitutes
Yeah, no,
impervious
I get it.
surface. The pool area now under the stormwater ordinance is impervious from a stormwater perspective. So then they had to resize the facilities in order to accommodate the additional impervious surface attributable to the pool water.
So what volume stormwater, what are you mitigating it to?
We're mitigating anything over the square footage from 1988.
So similar, again, to what the zoning hearing board would do in terms of, I don't want to use the word effective.
No, that's
Mitigating back to the,
mitigation is,
mitigating
right?
back to the limit.
Mitigation
That's the measurement the zoning hearing board uses. My two past experiences being here, anything over the allowable zoning limit must be mitigated.
Yeah, they mitigate the delta, right?
Correct. That is correct.
Between the
Yep.
allowable and what you're at. And what's the percentage difference? What's the delta?
The maximum,
For the plan, not for the zoning area, not for the zone.
It's a 1,500 square foot difference, Dan. The letter here only says the zoning is 24%, which is 6,525 square feet, but the plan is 5,096. I'm not good enough at math to do that off the top of my head.
What are you using to, what's your mitigation method? What's your BMP?
Infiltration.
Infiltrate, so you're putting in.
Dry well.
Okay. That's my world too, so. All right. I'm okay with
Yeah,
it.
the
I just
other-
want to make sure we're singing from.
Yeah, just for the record, the other conditions are, again, entering into a stormwater management operation and maintenance agreement, again, which would be executed and recorded for the benefit of future property owners, again, using the appendix in the stormwater ordinance. The project does involve over 5,000 square feet of earth disturbance, so there was a condition, obviously, for outside agency approval through Bucks County Conservation District. And then I believe that is,
And these are all will comply responses?
they were all will comply responses, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So do we have a motion?
It is already moved, sir.
And seconded?
Yes, sir.
With that, no public comment? Okay, then I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, 4-0.
Thank you for your explanations, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item 10A, Police Monthly Report.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Board of Supervisors. I present the police statistics for March 2026 and the year-to-date totals for 2026 as well. In March 2026, the police department handled 1,119 incidents, bringing us to a yearly total of 3,268. The three most common incidents handled in March were proactive police checks, medical aids, and burglar alarms. We issued 521 warnings in March for a yearly total of 1,610. We issued 155 traffic citations in March for a yearly total of 468. We issued 8 criminal citations in March for a yearly total of 40. There were 27 motor vehicle accidents in March for a yearly total of 101. 5 of those were reportable, with a yearly total of reportable accidents being 21. We had 5 motor vehicle incidents involving deer, bringing us to a yearly total of 23. We effected 16 arrests for a yearly total of 33. We had 267 community engagement contacts, bringing us to a yearly total of 670. And our co-responders served 12 clients for a yearly total of 34 and had a total of 17 total client encounters for a yearly total of 67. I would also like to congratulate Lieutenant Larry Hillman, who last Friday afternoon graduated from the Northwestern School of Police Staff and Command, a 10-week program that he began to attend last December. And I would like to thank both Bucks County for their grant support of that program and the Police Chiefs Association of Bucks County for their support. The lieutenant was able to attend this very expensive class at no cost to the taxpayers. And that concludes my report.
Thanks.
Can I just ask, are we winning this year over the deer?
It's tough to say. They're constant. Hopefully, with the additional daylight, we'll see these numbers decline.
I figure some of them are just suicidal.
Any other supervisor comments?
I think I would just say that I'm sure we've all individually congratulated the lieutenant at this point,
Yeah.
but if not, please convey
Yeah.
support, congratulations, and thanks to the board for his continued service and excellence.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening.
Thanks. Moving on to 11A, Public Works, Woodside Road, multi-use trail.
You said good morning?
Good evening. Before you, item 11A is the Woodside Road multi-use trail. Consider acceptance of the lowest responsive and responsible bidder from Plymar Construction Co., Inc. in the amount of $204,035 for the Taylorsville Road and Woodside Road Trail Connection Crossing. This is a budgeted project, and this would complete the trail across Taylorsville Road and then again across Woodside Road to get ultimately connect over to the Joint Toll Bridge Commission property to get to the canal. Be happy to answer any questions.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? Any public comment? Not hearing. With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Moving on to agenda item 11.2.
11.2, this is a proposal from Pannoni Engineering, Pannoni Associates, I forget what their full name is. This is for engineering services for the supplemental work for the existing Woodside Road multi-use trail at an estimated cost of $30,000. As the board is aware, there are some necessary remediation actions to look at for the existing trail that was constructed, I don't know, probably about 3 years now, 3 years now. Some of them, as detailed in the scope by Pannoni's, to look in depth. They did a site visit. They did some analysis on it. Some of them is intersection improvements for ADA at 3 of the existing intersections. Localized trail repairs. As the board is aware, there was some deterioration and irregularity in the asphalt. Settlements. Potentially some fencing or barriers at some drop-off locations. Side slope stabilization. And then ultimately prepare construction documents and survey work for the project. As I said before, it's an estimated fee of $30,000, obviously on a T&M basis, keeping the township abreast as we're going along to make sure we're on track and on budget.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to accept the proposal for engineering services from Pannoni for supplemental work on the existing Woodside Road multi-use trail at an estimated cost of $30,000.
Second.
Derek, really?
Yes, absolutely.
Is any, or maybe David, or maybe our solicitor on this, is any of this recoverable from the prior engineering firm, given some of the remedial actions that need to be taken?
I don't know if you want to weigh in or.
We could certainly look into it. I just fear that the cost of investigation to recoup the money, it may be for the principle of the matter, but I think that the cost may exceed the cost of the investigation would exceed the money that you would
Yeah, I mean, it would surely exceed, probably the limits of the scope. It may not, though, in terms of the actual construction work. So to the extent that there's a decision being made to, proceed with a potential claim, this would provide, and the associated bidding would provide the basis for any claim that you would file against.
Like with the Merrick paving.
Correct.
Some of this looks to be, portions of the project that kind of fell apart, and fixing that, it's obvious. And then there are others where it looks like the design may not have been the best.
Yeah, I would agree.
And that may be.
Yes, to your point, there's probably three categories. Maybe premature failure, potential. Again, we're doing some ADA ramps, so maybe there was potential deficiencies in design, detailing. So I think until Pannoni, to David's point, until Pannoni does a full design, fully review everything, will we know better where everything sits.
Okay. And when I look at the bullet points of the localized trail repairs under task 2, the only one that I'm scratching my head on a little bit, so if you could explain, is proposed fencing or barriers at drop-off locations.
That is along the basin there on south of Clearview, Clearview I think it is. Is the storm basin there where the trail gets extremely close to.
Where it's sloughed off into that steep.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. That's what that is.
That's what that is, yes.
So at one point there was talk of like fences between the road and along the curb, not curb, but.
Yeah, so
That's not part of this, I hope.
that is not, again, in looking at that further, those are general sort of guidelines. So the ability to potentially bring a claim for a deficiency from a standard standpoint, it's not really a standard, it's a guideline. So we end up potentially problematic with that in the event that you wanted to proceed with a potential claim. These issues, as Derek said, could relate to either, construction observation, the sufficiency of construction observation perhaps, and/or design deficiencies in terms of the lack of I think, design detail that was on the original plans that were put out.
So once they implement this proposal, they'll be documenting everything they see along the way?
Yep. Correct. Yep. And then you guys can make a decision as to how we want to proceed with that. Yep.
What's their schedule on this, since I'm on schedule tonight?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sure they'll get right on it. I don't, because again, this was a little bit backburn, I'll be honest. This is from February, but I would assume, again, we could find that out for you and get you that information, but I know they're antsy to get on it too, Obviously, survey is number one. I would assume their survey to get started is probably, even survey, I know their survey team is pretty backed up right now, obviously spring, so that could take a little bit of time, just getting some prelim stuff.
And they did I missed the one line, they do have a 12 to 16 week schedule for this.
Total, correct? I believe it was total time? Yeah, 12 to 16. I just have a feeling, I know some other projects, their survey group is a little bit backed up, so it may be a month before that 12 weeks kicks on just for survey data acquisition, would be my guess. But again, I could be wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, we could report back that on
Yeah,
that once
we'll find
once we
out.
have an opportunity to talk to them specifically about schedule.
With that, I'll call a question, unless there's any public comment. I'm not seeing nothing on the phone. I'll call a question. All those in favor of agenda item 11.2, signify by saying aye. Aye. Let the record reflect it passes 4-0. Moving on to agenda item 12.
Thank you.
Solicitors report. Thank you. Derek?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The minutes should reflect that the supervisors present this evening met in executive session this evening to discuss litigation matters and real estate matters. With that, and due to the lateness of the hour, that is my report this evening. Thank you.
Since I only became chair for this meeting, I don't have any discussion items, so if I'd had known a little sooner, I would have had a different agenda. I'd add lots of discussion items. Moving on to supervisor's report. Supervisor Ross is not here. I'm going to waive my report. Supervisor Coyle?
I will not be waiving my report, Mr. Chair, but I'll be as fast as I possibly can. The Human Relations Commission, which is a wonderful commission that serves our community with distinction, is in need of a new student member. So if you in this audience have an outlet to advertise out that freshmen, sophomore, or juniors who are residents of Lower Makefield Township who are interested in serving their community, we would love to hear from them and get a resume and a letter of interest in how they would like to serve our township as the student member of our Human Relations Commission. And they can reach out to admin@lmt.org.
That is correct, yep.
We'd love to get someone in as soon as possible. The Historic Commission has done some wonderful work lately, and I'd like to take a moment. There's been some press around the submission of our application for inclusion on the National Register of Historic Places for the, I am tired, I'm going to mess this up, the Thomas Janney Historical...
I think it's Agricultural Historic District.
Agricultural Historic District.
Yes.
So I want to make sure that we thank all the members of the commission. The work that they did as volunteers saved this township thousands of dollars. It was a very detailed submission, and I especially want to thank Joe Camerata for his work quarterbacking a massive and monstrous document. So a big thanks to that. Lastly, in our last meeting of the Historic Commission, there has been located a potential building foundation in 5 Mile Woods, which may be under risk from some trees growing in and around it. We believe that a gentleman by the name of William Dark was once resident in the area. Mr. Dark went on to serve this country with distinction in the Revolutionary War. He was a major general in the 8th Virginia Regiment, has a long and storied history of service to our country. And I would like to ask, man, my brain is really freezing here. I'd like to ask Derek if he wouldn't mind reaching out to the Historic Commission to get a little bit of detail. Take a look out at the site, right? And just make sure that we're not at risk of losing a potentially important part of history here in the year of America 250.
We will take care of that.
And that is my report for tonight, not to discredit the other boards, which are doing wonderful work throughout the township. Thank you.
Supervisor Reese?
I'll be brief. Golf Committee, you heard from today. Parks and Rec met. They discussed contracts with the various leagues, as well as who's going to be serving and where they're going to be selling ice cream and ices this summer. The seniors, I have had a couple of discussions. They have 2 issues. One is the parking issue. It is not conducive in the back. Truthfully, it's dangerous, and we could be held responsible if someone was injured. The other was, and I'm not exactly sure, I think I spoke to our manager, the seniors group needs some type of status or some type of, I guess, seal of approval or whatever it is so that they can look for certain grants. Airport review panel will be meeting in the next week. Thank you.
Supervisor Grenier?
Very quickly, the Emergency Management Committee, I believe, will be meeting April 29th at 6:30 p.m. right here. The SR 332 Stony Hill Road Steering Committee will be meeting right here May 7th at 5:30 p.m. The Zoning Hearing Board's next meeting is presently scheduled for the 21st of this month, although we should keep an eye out for a potentially changing agenda. Watch the website and other social media for that. Otherwise, I have nothing else to report.
Excellent. There's no other business with that. Agenda item 16, appointments, reappointments, boards, and commissions.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that we appoint Joseph DeSanctis to the Airport Commission and Mr. Bob Cummings to the Golf Commission.
And I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So the ayes have it 4-0. At this time, if you hadn't had enough public comment, this is your last chance. So I don't see anybody by the dais. Is there anyone on the phone? Oh, this brings up the best part of tonight's meeting, adjournment.